Welcome to SVG-TV News on Monday, July 12th, 2021. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. As the government prepares communities in North Windward for resettlement after the explosive eruption of Venezuela Volcano almost 3 months ago, some areas will be made totally off-limit or not fit for human habitation. To aid in this process, the government will soon commence the demarcation process. This was announced on radio today by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who said the process should be completed in 2 weeks' time.
And to specifically demarcate the areas where we wouldn't allow a return, like the riverbeds now, and adjoining areas which are especially vulnerable. That is the formulation in the act, meaning places which are unsafe really for human habitation. So we're moving back north of the dry river, but there are certain places where we would not allow building to take place or living, particular areas within particular communities.
PM Gonsalves said that a committee has already been set up to carry out the work, noting that the demarcation is part of NEMO's Act under Section 19. He said that Dr. Richard Robertson, who was the lead scientist monitoring Venezuela Volcano during its explosive phase, is part of the committee.
Demarcate them, and they have to be presented, they have to be published, presented to the cabinet, and then published. So that everybody will know. And we'll have to mark it actually physically on the ground too, with relevant markers. On that committee, we are having the physical planner, the chief town and country planner, being the chairperson, because their specific responsibility. But we're having other individuals, including the chief surveyor, somebody from NEMO, somebody from the office of the chief engineer, somebody from forestry. So, but Richie Robertson, he will work virtually. He'd work from St. Augustine, Trinidad.
The cleaning of volcanic ash by the Roads, Buildings and General Services Authority, BRAXA, in the Sandy Bay area has been further affected by lahars or mud flows recorded over the weekend. Prime Minister Gonsalves said while he was told that there was no serious damage in other areas of North Windward, Sandy Bay was mainly affected. He said that the government will be taking added measures to clear the riverbeds to make the roadways passable.
The road going from Sandy Bay, Johnny P., we had cleared an area there by the road, by the bridge, before you enter the main village in Sandy Bay. But there was the rain would have affected that a little. So we don't know whether, we're sending some heavy equipment there to put some stones below so that it would have a sufficient base.
The Prime Minister said that preparing the communities for habitation in phases has to go on.
Particularly to help persons in the services like water and electricity to go across now. We had done a sort of almost an elemental bypass, not quite a bypass, but just to make it passable now in the circumstances, sort of makeshift thing. So I got a report that more than likely would have had some challenge.
Dr. Gonsalves noted that inspection of homes in Orange Hill has also commenced and close to 100 inspections have been done so far. He, however, noted that the restoration of electricity to government buildings in the area and far north will be given priority.
Electrical Inspectorate has inspected 99 houses in Orange Hill, and I've been advised that they have received electricity, and they're completing that, and they're into, I'm talking the Electrical Inspectorate. Yeah. They're inspecting the houses in Turma, in Overland, Magum, and doing the same thing down in Chateau-Belair. So within a week plus or so, the team's working on both ends of the country, both the northeast and the northwest. Of course, you have electricity strategically in places like, for instance, the electricity is connected to the Oya police station. You know what I mean, Johnny? People
yes,
yet
yes.
Vinlek wouldn't do the houses until we know for sure, until we know that it is
It's
the
safe.
houses to which we do the connections. It's safe now.
Director of the UWI Seismic Research Center, Dr. Uracilla Joseph, will take over as the lead scientist monitoring La Soufrière volcano. Dr. Joseph, who is a volcanologist for close to 20 years and a geochemist working with the UWI Seismic Research Center, was on NBC Radio this morning with Prime Minister Gonzalez. Dr. Joseph, who completed her quarantine on Sunday, will take over from Lloyd Lynch, who will leave this island on Wednesday. The incoming lead scientist said she is looking to put in as much work as possible during her 1-month stint on island.
Personally, I would have to occupy the Belmont Observatory and keep the systems there up and running, coordinate any monitoring coordinate any monitoring that needs to be continually done, such as we plan to do some continuous GPS. I will still have Dr. Pascal here with me, so we will do some campaign-style, GPS, and assist with the SO2 monitoring and finish up any last minute or, well, anything left over from the current team.
Dr. Joseph, who will be the first woman to lead the monitoring team at the Belmont Observatory since the volcano started to erupt effusively in late December 2020, has a vast experience in the field.
I look at the chemistry of the volcanoes. So I look at the chemistry of the gas and the hot springs, the waters associated with volcanoes in the Eastern Caribbean at seismic monitors. So, and I also assist with the monitoring at the Montreal Volcano Observatory when needed.
As the monitoring of the volcano continues, outgoing scientist Lloyd Lynch said that there was little activity over the weekend, which included 3 lahars or mud flows following the heavy rainfall on Sunday. He also noted that due to cloud cover, steam from the volcano was not observed but is ongoing. With 2 days left as lead monitoring scientist, Lynch is wrapping up unfinished work and noted that he was able to kickstart the installation of 5 monitoring stations at various locations.
We have 5 new stations that are coming in to various locations due to the loss of the network, the G1 network. Coming into Belmont, we weren't able to do most of the configuration. So it's a mad rush for us now to configure most of those systems that were put in after the 26th. So we're talking about Greg's, we're talking about London, and Richmond. We had actually abandoned the configuration of Richmond to deal with the helicopter. So we are back in the field, tying up some loose ends in that respect.
Lynch said due to the limited time on his hands, some of the installation work may be incomplete, such as securing the areas of the monitoring stations, as he stressed the importance of keeping them secured.
We would definitely want to get these 5 new installations fenced. Most of the new stations are in isolated regions that are used to tether cattle and other domesticated animals. Like, for example, in London, there are pigs, there are dogs, and so on. So it's absolutely important to get these installations fenced. Fencing also provides some measure of electrical protection in that when you ground the fence, it makes it a bit more immune from lightning strikes. So, very important activity.
The lead monitoring scientist said he is grateful to be of service to the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Also, to those who have provided the positive feedback and I'm looking forward to the well-earned rest, because it's been like drinking water from a fire hose.
Oh.
It was difficult, but as the song says, it was worth it.
It was worth it. All
Yeah.
right.
In some COVID-19 related news now, we hear that 3 new COVID-19 cases were recorded here between Saturday and Sunday. 2 of the new cases were reported from 168 samples processed on Saturday, July 10th, resulting in a positivity rate of 1.2%. And 1 new positive case was reported from 61 samples processed on Sunday, July 11th, resulting in a positivity rate of 1.6%. 3 new recoveries were noted over the reporting period. 84 cases are currently active and 12 persons with COVID-19 have died. 2,244 cases of COVID-19 and 2,149 recoveries have been recorded in St. Vincent and the Grenadines since March 2020. The health authorities say persons who persist in incorrect or no mask use, remain unvaccinated, and participate in mass gatherings will continue to be at risk for being infected and spreading COVID-19. The authorities say to reduce the spread of COVID-19 here in SVG, compliance with the protocols, including the effective use of masks, physical distancing, and the evidence-based recommendations to be vaccinated with the available vaccines is strongly recommended. The dry dock of the Oatley Marina collapsed since 2019. However, there are other elements which are still functioning. This is according to Minister of Urban Development, Energy, Seaports, Grenadines and Local Government, Julian Francis, who was at the time responding to a question in Parliament last week by Opposition Leader Dr. Godwin Friday on what is the present condition of the shipyard and when will it be repaired and be available for use by local boat owners and provide jobs to local workers and revenue to the country.
They're using where the dry dock was placed to wet dock boats. In other words, you can fix a boat up to waterline, down below waterline. Smaller boats and yachts, they can use what is called a travel lift, put it over where the dry dock used to be, and pull them out and put them on dry dock. The metal workshop, the carpentry workshop, the fiberglassing, welding and fabrication, sandblasting and painting are fully functional. So the rest of the Oatley Marina shipyard is functioning, still needs some cleaning up and some attention and to upgrade, but the dry dock is out of operation and it's being recommended not to touch it for the time being, for the cost of it.
Francis also provided an update on the amount of employees at the marina and the revenue collected, noting that the number of employees has increased since 2018 despite the COVID-19 pandemic.
Employment and income up to 2018, Madam Speaker, Oatley Hall was turning over still. Then the dry dock was intact, about $800,000 to $1 million a year. And they had about 26 employees. Now, they're bordering around $800,000 with 28 employees. So there's still persons employed at Oatley Hall, 28 of them, which there's not a significant difference, in fact has increased despite COVID, and because the dock broke in 2019.
The government minister said that negotiation for a private sector entity to operate the shipyard is ongoing and is expected to have an agreement in the next 2 months.
It is the intention of the government, as we have done before, to have the private sector operate Oatley Hall. And we have already engaged 2 different private sector operators for Oatley Hall. And in the end, things didn't go so well for them. And the government decided that the Oatley Hall Marina must operate on its own and to keep it functioning. Negotiations for this continued private sector investment were ongoing, but disruption by COVID and within recent times by the volcanic eruptions, negotiations have recently resumed and expect to have an agreement for the development of the facilities in the next month or two.
The Calico Fisheries Center is closed from today, Monday, July 12th, for renovation, which is expected to last for a period of 3 weeks. The announcement was made by the Fisheries Division in the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries, Rural Transformation, Industry and Labor. The Fisheries Division said fisherfolk who normally conduct business at the Fisheries Center to land their fish at the Kingstown Fish Market during this period. In other news, an initial one-week protest action by the staff of the Mental Health Rehabilitation Center and the Public Service Union, PSU, which started on Monday, July 4th, was suspended on the third day upon receipt of a letter from Governor General Dame Susan Duggan. President of the PSU, Elroy Boucher, told SVG-TV News that the union and the staff of the Rehabilitation Center agreed to call off the industrial action by focusing on the well-being of the patients as recommended by the Governor General in her letter.
After we received the letter from the Governor General, just to go back, we decided to suspend the industrial action to allow the matter to be addressed, because she implied it in her letter that the matter will be addressed and it is best not to have that kind of impact on the staff at this particular time, the patients and staff. So we agreed, although we would have tried having dialogue for some time since last year, and this problem still persists. But we agreed to give it one more try, given her statement with respect to the well-being of the mentally challenged patient. So we suspended the industrial action.
Boucher, however, noted that the union has since written to the Governor General in assisting them to facilitate dialogue with the Minister of Health on the issues affecting the staff.
We have since written to the Governor General, and we have just more or less asked her to, we have solicited her assistance in facilitating a meeting between the Minister of Health and the Public Service Union, because we also heard that the Minister of Health has stated that he's open to dialogue, and so we have asked her to facilitate such a meeting. The union also, I think, would be writing the Minister sometime today, seeking a meeting to see how best we can address the issues that are plaguing the mental health institution.
A ceremony to commemorate the 210th anniversary of Venezuela's independence was held here on Friday, July 9th at the Embassy of Venezuela in Rotterdam, highlighting the country's historic journey to independence. Addressing the gathering, Venezuela's ambassador to SVG, Francisco Perez Santana, took the opportunity to highlight how the Haitian Revolution contributed to the revolutions that took place across the Americas. Ambassador Perez Santana heralded the first independent country in the Western Hemisphere for its contribution to shaping the way forward for the rest of the region. The Venezuela ambassador noted that the independence process in the region paved the way for achieving emancipation for the historically oppressed for over 200 years. He shared a few notes on Venezuela's road to independence some 210 years ago.
In 1811, the General Congress of the Venezuelan provinces was installed and demanded the declaration of independence from Spain. Bolivar declared, open quote, "That great project must be prepared calmly. 300 years of calm is not enough." And on July 5th, 1811, the majority of the Congress, led by General Francisco de Miranda, voted in favor of the absolute declaration of independence and Miranda defended the idea of the birth of the first American Republic in defense of the freedom of the Venezuelan people as one of the ideas of the Act of the Independence state. Open quote. We believe that we cannot and must not retain the ties that bond us to the government of Spain, and that, like all the people of the world, we are free and authorized to depend on no other authority than our own.
Also addressing the ceremony was Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who shared a snippet of SVG's historical footprint up to independence. The Prime Minister took the time to highlight the significance of the relationship between SVG and Venezuela, noting that prior to U.S. sanction, SVG's economy benefited greatly from Venezuela. BM Gonsalves also lauded the generosity of Cuba and Venezuela, noting their integral roles in the completion of the non-traditionally funded Argyle International Airport.
And meanwhile, the sanctions, they are turning it into a criminal enterprise by saying you can't do normal banking. Certainly illegal. Because of the sanctions, Petrocaribe is closed down. You know, during the time of Petrocaribe, depending on the price of the fuel, from Petrocaribe alone, we got between $20 and $40 million a year out of Petrocaribe, you know. Those things went to deal with poverty and housing and infrastructural development in this country, you know. Without Venezuela and Cuba, we couldn't build Argyle International Airport.
The Venezuelan Congress declared Venezuela's independence on July 5, 1811.